Hey, what is up ladies and gentlemen? Today we're going to be reviewing Ultimate Spider-Man number 2. We will be going through the entirety of the comic, so spoiler warning ahead if you haven't read the issue yourself, and at the end I will be giving my thoughts and opinions on it, so do stay tuned for that. Lastly, if you're enjoying this video at any point, make sure to like and subscribe, and without further ado, let's jump right into this comic. So far up to this point, it has been 1 month since Peter has gotten his spider powers, and we're starting this issue on a fine morning. Everyone's doing their own thing. Peter's son is reading a book, Peter's daughter's reading the Daily Bugle, Peter himself is actually washing the dishes, muscular ass motherfucker, and MJ herself is getting ready for work. This morning is where we get established that Peter's daughter actually finds the spider character that's on the cover of the Daily Bugle actually scary, because he is wearing the black suit, mind I remind you, that Tony Stark gave him, preceding Peter's interest if he decided to get bitten by the spider that he also gave him. Right before their morning ends and MJ leaves for work, she does turn back to look at Peter and she questions, has he been working out? He's been noticeably buff, akin to the spider strength that Peter does get with these Spider-Man stories. Next we get Spider-Man swinging through the city as he's giving us a rough summary of the changes that are going through his body, having been bitten by the radioactive spider that gives him his Spider-Man powers. And some of the changes range from him having to eat like 10,000 calories a day, having the obvious super strength that he gets with his Spider-Man powers, and an outstanding understanding of spatial awareness. As he's giving his explanation and swinging through the city, he loses control and smashes into a water tower. He then explains that after 2 weeks of practicing his movements, he hasn't quite gotten the ability to stop yet. He also did notice that he's able to take quite a beating. Since he's not able to stop correctly, he's kind of smashing into things. We also catch up with Jonah Jameson and Uncle Ben, as they're both hanging out in a steam room just talking about things and planning things out for their business. This is where we get established that they're actually doing some research on Wilson Fisk because of his shady deals, and they believe that their news article about the black-suited web-slinger that they published is actually a distraction on what's actually going down, since there are questions talking about what Fisk is doing on the underground level, and in order to cover those questions up, they publish a piece on the web-slinger. This creates the goal that Uncle Ben and JJ set out for themselves to start their own news business. Then we come back to Peter, who's still practicing his web slinging while also having some existential questions about himself and the powers that he now has, when he notices a bank robber who seems to be wanting to break into said bank. But before he actually gets the chance to do that, Spider-Man actually sneaks up right behind him and questions, yo dude, did you like lose your keys or something? And this bank robber is like, what? What are you supposed to be? And our web slinger starts going off on a rant about how that's the very exact thing he was actually questioning himself right before he noticed said actions with the bank. The web slinger tells the criminal that he believes he should be one of the peoples that should be stopping him from breaking into the bank. But this bank robber notices the naiveness in this web slinger character, and he begins telling the web slinger that he's actually doing quite a good job because he actually is gonna stop doing what he was doing before he regrets doing it. So the web slinger questions like, what, seriously, you're just gonna stop? And the bank robber's like, yeah, seriously. The bank robber reaches out his hand to try to shake the web slinger's hand and thanks him for seeing that there's other possibilities and that robbing the bank isn't one of them. The web slinger is hesitant and reaches out for his hand and tells him, sure, no problem, mister. This is when the bank robber tells him, you can call me the Shocker, and blasts him away since he wasn't expecting a blast from him, and sends him flying off the building, causing him to land in a dumpster below in an alleyway. After his first attempt to stop a supervillain was a complete bust, the web slinger ended up heading home, and upon getting there he starts munching on some vanilla ice cream, as it was established earlier that he has to eat like 10,000 calories to even sustain his abilities. So still being in the costume, he just sits on the couch and starts eating this vanilla ice cream. Then Peter's daughter walks in and notices the web slinger just sitting there eating ice ice cream, and she starts crying. Because earlier in the comic, it was established that Peter's daughter found the web slinger pretty scary. Peter then, to calm things off, revealed himself to be the web slinger to her, and tells her to not be scared because it's just her father. He reveals that the web slinger was him the entire time. Once she does calm down, Peter tells her to keep it a secret from Mom, at least for now. And then he bribes her with some ice cream, and they both sit there eating the vanilla ice cream. Peter's daughter reinstates that she does not like the costume, and Peter affirms that there might just be something he can do about it. Then we move on to Wilson Fisk, who we get established was put into a position of power by the Maker's own council, who, the council themselves, rule the world. They rule it by putting smaller leaders in position of power, in this case, Wilson Fisk. So we get a scene of Monsieur Britton, one of the council members, talking to Wilson Fisk about the web slinger article. And so Fisk tells him that the article is just meant to be a distraction. Apparently, there have been talks about Fisk himself being attacked by a masked vigilante, referring to Green Goblin attacks that he has been receiving. In issue 1, he got one of them, and then in this issue, they established that Wilson Fisk has gotten attacked at least 3 times. So the Daily Bugle publishing an article about the web slinger is just a distraction on that case. Monsieur Britton doesn't like the article though. He tells Wilson Fisk that he should be publishing nothing and having the public like it. He tells Wilson Fisk that he has supplied him with resources to be able to take out problems such as the vigilante, and that he should utilize them, referring to the eye-patched bald dude bodyguard that was with Wilson Fisk in the first issue, and they also show him off in this issue. Now, before I forget, I do want to point out that this special council that is ruling over Wilson Fisk, and that they claim to be ruling over the world, that was established by the Maker himself, so they don't claim, they know they're ruling over the world. They were also the ones that caused the attack on New York that ended up taking out Aunt May, as well as Norman Osborn. Then we get another night of Spider-Man trying to practice being a vigilante. He's sitting on top of a statue, just texting his wife, letting her know to not wait up because he's gonna be late. Then he hears a loud crash coming from the same location that he met the bank robber earlier. And it's the same bank robber actually, and it looks like he's walking out of the bank, looking at his money. The web slinger arrives to interrupt the Shocker, cracks a joke about the bad habits that the Shocker has, and immediately action ensues. The Shocker tries striking at the web slinger, but the web slinger is able to dodge it no problem, and he webs the Shocker's face, causing the Shocker to be a little distracted trying to rip it off, and at the same time question who the web slinger is. Having the Shocker now distracted with the web on his face, the web slinger punches the Shocker in the gut, and he's really feeling it. This catches the Shocker off guard at the amount of strength that this character struck him with, and the Shocker's just pleading with him after the strike. He starts telling him like, yo, I was just doing this for my wife, she just needs medication and treatment, and this causes the web slinger to second guess himself again, catching him off guard for the Shocker strike with both hands, causing him to go off a building again, just like the first time with their encounter. And exactly like the first time, the web slinger lands in a trash bin, effectively letting the Shocker be able to get away. Now at this moment, it gets revealed that this entire interaction with the web slinger and the Shocker was being watched by the Green Goblin himself. Definitely was on a different rooftop watching this chaos go down. And as it's been established already through different variant covers and whatnot, the Green Goblin is Harry Osborn in this Ultimate Universe. So he's just on a rooftop watching the Shocker get away and the web slinger just land in a garbage container. Upon getting defeated by the Shocker twice, he heads home, and he starts questioning his ability on being able to even take up the mantle of a crime fighter. On top of that, he also ended up scaring his daughter. This definitely gets him questioning if he's even cut out for this. But as he's munching on random things in the fridge, he notices this note that's attached onto the front of the fridge's door. A note written by his daughter, and it says, "Dad, I drew a picture of your spider. I hope you like it. You're the best. Love, May." The spider that's drawn onto the note is actually red and blue, giving Peter the idea of his new suit design. Along with the note, it also gave him the inspiration from his daughter to give the crime fighting another shot. And we're left on a to be continued, ladies and gentlemen. Alright, now we're going to be moving on to our thoughts, comments, and concerns. So, what do we think about the comic? There is no doubt that I didn't enjoy this comic. I absolutely liked it. I love where they're going with this, and And with this issue, I, off the bat, saw potential future, meetups, confrontations with characters, possible storylines that they might be going with, and Peter's adventure as the web-slinger is a lot of fun to watch progress. But let me break it down and get more detailed than this. I really enjoy how the comic has been starting off with the family's mornings, because it definitely gives off a very good opportunity to bounce off family dynamics and show off how each character interacts with each other. Peter now having the spider abilities and giving him the super strength. Right before MJ actually leaves for work in that very same morning, she notices that Peter ends up looking buff and questions if he's been working out. I love that. It's just a fun way to show off the family dynamic. Now, as far as our favorite web slinger goes, we do get established quite a bit of rules with the character. Very basic stuff like super strength, his spatial awareness, his agility, his sticky factor of whatnot, but they do include that he requires about 10,000 calories per day to be able to maintain this level of badassery. So we constantly see Peter just eating right after his crime fighting or his web slinging, and I love me a hero that can eat. Like, all the best superheroes have always been ones that just love eating. Like Goku, he's a pretty good example. So whenever they implement a superhero that just loves to eat, I love that concept. I eat that up literally. I mean, not literally, I don't eat the comic, but you get what I mean. I love it. After saving the day, beating up some criminals, he's gonna go home and just eat some lobster, some burgers, order some Uber Eats. I don't know, man, just to feed yourself. I love the concept. Also, with the rules that they establish, Peter does claim that he's able to take a beating, and I believe that is probably some unfortunate foreshadowing, fellas. Our boy is gonna go through some crazy stuff. I mean, yeah, in this context, they did mean it like he can take a punch, but I'm sure they're gonna test out our character in so many ways. So let's see how this goes. I also like what they're doing with Jonah Jameson and Uncle Ben, and I see possibly where they're going with it. They show intrigue in finding out what is going down with Wilson Fisk. And as we've already come to know, he's working with the Maker's Council that put him into a position of power. And so Uncle Ben and JJ talk about how Wilson Fisk has been being attacked by a green vigilante at least 3 times. They find that incredibly suspicious, especially over the fact that the Daily Bugle isn't publishing any stories on it, and instead they publish a story on the web slinger that just appeared out of nowhere. Both JJ and Uncle Ben get very curious, and I could definitely see Uncle Ben and JJ finding out about the Maker and the Council, as well as the recreation of this overall Ultimate Universe. Along with that, they'll find out that Wilson Fisk was actually put in the position that he's in because of it. So these two characters have a long journey to go. Or at least that's my assumption on how they might play out this story. I can't wait to find out how it actually does. I really love our web-slinger's first interaction with the Shocker, his first supervillain. So he ends up fighting him twice, and both times it ends up going really bad for the web-slinger. The first time he gets caught off guard because as he's web-slinging and notices the bank about to be broken into, he is having a existential questioning about his overall existence in life. So the moment he shows up to stop the Shocker from breaking into a bank, he's like, I think I'm supposed to stop guys like you. And as far as we know, this is also the very first time he's even fighting like a criminal overall. It hasn't been shown or told that he has fought like a basic criminal in the past without any crazy powers or equipment. And then it also gets to the web slinger that the Shocker just immediately sees the error of his ways, and he thanks this vigilante for stopping him before he regrets doing anything. But that's when the web slinger got caught and he got shocked right off the building into a dumpster. I really love the fact that he dropped into a dumpster twice, especially after a interaction with the Shocker. Like, both times it ended up in the trash, but it looks like he wasn't able to get up both times in time to catch up with the Shocker because he gets away. I wonder if the Shocker questioned how the web slinger was still even alive after their first interaction when he saw him the second time. Now, I do want to mention that the web slinger does use his webs, like he's swinging around, he's using the webs, but it hasn't been clearly established, or at least I don't think so, whether the webs are organic or if that's like technology. Definitely not something that he would have built himself, probably. It might be a part of the suit. We still don't know that part. I really thought it was really cool how the web slinger ended up webbing the Shocker's face during their second interaction. We get to see the webbing of the face for the very first time in the Ultimate Universe. Hell yeah! Followed by the web slinger catching the Shocker off guard by punching him in the gut. I specifically thought that punch was hilarious because it really shocks the Shocker into reality. Previously, he didn't get attacked by the web slinger. This is the very first time the dude just punches at him. I'm surprised he didn't just like take him out, you know? And then the Shocker comes up with this story talking about how his wife needs this medication and the money's for that and all that stuff. Being a very understanding and great guy that the web slinger is at this point in his life, he starts connecting with the Shocker's story and sympathizing with it, but then he's like, hey, wait a minute. You might be lying. Of course, having the whip slinger off guard, the Shocker just throws him off the building for a second time and gets away. One important detail with the second interaction with the Shocker that the web slinger had. At the end, after the web slinger ended up getting tossed into the trash, we get revealed that the Green Goblin was actually on a rooftop watching their entire interaction. Now, before I start going off on my theories on where that character's gonna go, I want to quickly point out it must have been funny as hell. The Green Goblin just standing on this rooftop, watching this dude go off a building, land in a trash, and then after maybe who knows how long, just get up and walk himself off. The Green Goblin must have been like, yo, what the heck? On to my theory though. The Green Goblin ended up watching their entire interaction, and he watched the Shocker get away. After the interaction with the Shocker, the web slinger ended up heading home. Now, who's to say the Green Goblin didn't follow the web slinger home? If he watched the entire interaction and he watched the Shocker get away, there's no point in following the Shocker. There's nothing cool with that guy, but this new guy on the block who just like survived getting thrown off a building, especially after he survived a brief confrontation with actual action before that, seeing the web slinger web the Shocker in the face. If I were the Green Goblin, I'd be pretty curious as to who this guy is, and I'd follow him home. So there's a good possibility that the Green Goblin, Harry Osborn, knows that the web slinger is Peter Parker. But let's see how this plays out. I'm really interested in this story. It's really good. It's coming along. Last quick thing we should touch upon is Spider-Man's actual costume, the web slinger. I'm not calling him Spider-Man. I haven't been calling him Spider-Man this entire video because honestly to me he's just like the web slinger. He hasn't been known as Spider-Man yet. But honestly it could have been in the first issue where Tony has told him what his Spider-Man name is. Hell, I can't remember. Y'all let me know in the comments. But as far as for this review, I've just been calling him the web slinger. Anyways, he's going along crime fighting using the suit that Tony Stark gave him. But the actual suit itself, it looks like it scares Peter's daughter. So with the influence of the note that Peter's daughter left him at the very end of the comic, the spider that she drew on the note, it's red and blue, you could already see where the influence for the colors of his costume come from. And I think that's a pretty neat idea. Overall, this entire comic is pretty good. I like where they're headed with this, or where at least I think they're headed. We're gold. Number 1, 2, we're solid. And I can't wait to see Peter in his red and blue suit. I'm excited for that. Anyways, ladies and gentlemen, those are my thoughts on the comic. Let me know in the comments below what you guys thought about the comic if you guys read it. How do you guys like the overall world that they're building with for Spider-Man here? What aspects do you guys hate about it? What do you guys like about it? Let me know in the comments. But that is all I have for you today. If you enjoyed this video at any point, make sure to leave a like and subscribe, and I'll catch you guys next time. Peace.